Hey besties!
Hey!
Welcome back for another episode of the Hello Bestie podcast. I'm Maggie.
I'm Tashima.
And today for our book club, we are going to be discussing
The Night Circus
by Erin Morgenstern.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this book is about a circus that just pops up out of nowhere, mysteriously.
In the evening.
There are no advertisements, no letters, no nothing. It's all word of mouth. All black and white tents. No one knows when and where it's going to pop up, and no one knows how long it's going to stay. And it's called Les Cirque des Rêves, which means Circus of Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So the book opens up kind of describing this circus. And then it talks about a man named Prospero the Enchanter, that's a stage name. So he's an illusionist, and his real name is Hector Bowen. So the book opens up with a letter being delivered to him, being pinned on the coat of a little girl. As soon as he sees this little girl, she has his eyes. He doesn't really need to know who she is, but he takes the letter off, he reads it, gets the confirmation that this is his daughter, and the letter was basically a suicide note from the daughter's mother. He finds out that her name is Celia, and there's a cup of tea that's on the table, and this is important because once he learns her name, he makes a slick comment about the girl's mom, saying, like, if she was clever, she would have named you Miranda. Guess she's not that smart, though. And then he notices that the teacup shatters,
right,
and spills all over the floor, and the girl, hadn't moved at all. So then he notices that the teacup starts coming back together, the tea goes back into it, and he's like, oh,
this is interesting.
You're going to be interesting. And then he basically starts training her in his different illusions. He goes and he travels to a different theater. He's performing, and there's a man in a gray suit who's in the audience, and he's just very stoic and unimpressed. After the show, the man in the gray suit goes to Prospero, whose real name is Hector Bowen. So those names are used throughout the book interchangeably. So Prospero and Hector is the same person. So the man in the gray suit goes to his dressing room and is basically like, It's like the crowd seemed to enjoy it, but whatevs, not that big of a deal. So they start going back and forth, and he's like, I want you to meet someone because I think we should play a game. It's been a long time since we played. And then Celia comes in and he tells her, I want you to show this man what you can do. And he hands her a watch. And she's hesitant because she's like, you told me I'm not supposed to ever do this in front of anyone. She's like, no, he's cool. He's cool. Go ahead and do it. And Celia basically levitates the watch from the table and has it spin around. The man in the gray suit is like, that's impressive, but basic.
Yeah.
And then the watch slams to the ground.
And breaks apart.
And shatters. And then Prospero, Hector, it's like, Celia! So then she's kind of like, sorry, and then puts it back together. And then that is when the man in the gray suit is like, okay, that's more impressive.
Right.
But I don't know about this one. She's got a temper.
Yeah. And that's when she seems to break things.
Right.
And she fixes it because she feels bad.
Right. So then they kind of go back and forth. And the weird thing is the man in the gray suit is able to alter Celia's hearing. And she can see them talking, but their voices are muddled and she can't understand what they're saying. But the man in the gray suit is basically asking Hector, are you sure that you want to risk your own child? Because we can't guarantee her victory, and you might want to pick someone who you can stand to lose. And as a reader, I'm like, well, what kind of game is this? Right. What? What kind of game is this? He's like, she won't lose. I'm confident. Okay. So then Celia can hear them speaking again, and Hector takes her over to the man in the gray suit. He takes a ring off his pinky, puts it on her finger, and she's like, oh, pretty ring, but it's too big.
Yeah, until it starts burning.
Yes, and then it starts shrinking on her hand and basically disintegrates and leaves a bright red scar there. And she steps away, and that basically starts the deal.
Yeah.
Hector gives the man a ring and is like, you do with this what you need to when you need to.
Yeah, like, I trust you. Because he's like, oh, you don't want to do it yourself? And he's like, nah.
Yeah.
You got that.
Right.
We're good. We're I'm like, it doesn't really matter who you get to at this point.
Right.
Like, he's that confident in whatever little arrangement that they just made.
At this point, it made me think of Trading Places. Like, it was giving very much the Duke brothers, like trying to ruin Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd's life and making them switch places. So your little game involves the lives of her and clearly whoever he chooses to give this ring to. So at that point, Celia's like 5 years old, and then it just kind of progresses into her being a teenager, essentially. And throughout this time, the timeline hops between her and, you know, someone else.
Multiple POVs and also time lapses and jumps.
Yeah.
Like, it goes back in time, forward in time, depending on whose POV it is at that time. So it can be a little confusing.
Yeah, it's a detailed read. It's one that you kind of need to read once just to get the story and then get into it again. Like, Hector introduced the man in the gray suit to her as Alexander. And before the man left, she said, "Why did you tell me his name is Alexander? That's not his name." He's like, "How do you know that?" She's like, "I don't know. Kind of how Prospero is for you. It just sounds like a name he just uses whenever he wants to. That's not his given name." He's like, "Well, aren't you smart or aren't you like clever or whatever?" But doesn't give her any more than that. So meanwhile, the man in the gray suit goes to an orphanage, interviews like 3 kids, picks one, and now moves this boy into the house. And it was so crazy because the boy's like, "Don't you want to know my name?" He's like, "Names don't matter. Whenever we get to that point, you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself." So for a while in the beginning of the book, it was just the boy.
Yeah, pretty much by himself. And then he would come and visit him like 1 hour a day. And I think the only way he even picked him was like, "Do you know how to read?" The kid was like, "Yeah, but there's not a lot of books here." And then had him, I think he accidentally dropped his cane.
No, I think he tossed his cane to him and the boy caught it.
Right. And just like based off that, you know, he's like, "Okay, you're going to come live with me." He's like, "Well, do I have a say in the matter?" And he is like, "I mean, do you want to live here?" And then the kid is like, "No." And then they go off. Yeah. Which later, you know, you find out it's kind of sus.
Yeah. And then he just leaves this boy by himself. Like, I think he gets food brought to him 3 times a day, 2-3 times a day. Someone comes and cuts his hair, I think once a week or something. And even that person doesn't speak to him. And then once a year, he gets measurements for new clothes. So outside of the man in the gray suit coming every hour a day, this kid doesn't see anybody at all.
But he's well taken care of.
He's well taken care of.
His whole job is just to study. And learn. He's fed, he's clothed, but he has no social interaction whatsoever.
And he's in a townhouse in London. And meanwhile, Celia and her dad, Hector, are in New York. Yeah, the boy basically doesn't get out much at all. But occasionally, he's allowed to go to museums and libraries and shows.
The man in the gray suit takes the boy to 2 different shows. And one of them has Hector. Hector Bowen. And so he just asks him if he notices any differences. And he basically says that he can tell that Hector shows like the real deal. And that, you know, he could kind of see that he was almost intentionally trying to mess things up, but he could tell that it was like not the same as the other show. And so the man in the gray suit is basically like, okay, you know, like you're intuitive. Like, you clearly can see things outside of, like, you're not wowed by it. You can actually see how things are working. And that, I think, is at that point where he puts the ring on his finger. Like, I don't even think they have a conversation about it. He just basically is like, bink.
Well, I think they had a very brief conversation. He had a lesson on binding, and the boy is like, "What am I being bound to?" He's like, "You're being bound to a commitment that you've already made, which the moment made it for me, basically." And it's permanent. So
so basically, same process. Put the ring on his finger, burned into his skin into a little red band, and I think it was on the right hand actually. And then from there, I think we jump to adolescence.
Yeah, basically. So throughout this point, he's in London getting trained. He's still reading a lot of books. Their trainings are very different, though. So his seems to be more based on reading, writing, learning languages and things like that. Meanwhile, like Hector is just slicing Celia's fingers open, like making her heal
Emotional, verbal,
herself.
and physical abuse.
Yes, and when she was a little girl, he liked having her around because of all the accolades. Oh, look at your cute little daughter. But then when he felt like she got too old, he started just leaving her in hotels or not paying attention to her. And she started growing up alone, essentially, by that point when she outgrew that cute stage for him.
Right. Making her be like pretend to be a medium.
Girl, that was crazy. She was 16 years old at that time and like just real grimy because he would have her like she knew magic, so he would have her knock on doors or
levitate things
and tell people it was their loved ones trying to communicate with them, like take their personal belongings and break them, and people would hug her and cry and I don't like this. You know, this doesn't feel good. And
he was very abusive.
Yes, absolutely. Like really didn't care about her at all.
No. And it's like in two different ways they had very similar, like, not good childhoods.
Right.
You know, like even though the boy grew up having everything, not really everything, but like he was well taken care of, he didn't have love.
Right.
And like interaction. And then for her, she was, you know, like a little nomad.
Right.
Just, you know, and then the whole like cutting her, and then like when he broke her hand and basically told her to fix it. No, he was a real piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad. It was very clear, like, you are my property to serve. I need you to win this game, but I'm not going to tell you anything about the game. Just know you need to keep practicing for it. And when it's our move, we'll know.
And you'll never be good enough. But just know that everything that I'm doing to you is serving a purpose.
Right.
And it's going to make you stronger. But it's like, but how is you cutting me? Helping me.
Right. Just really, really horrible stuff that he was doing to her just to test it. So I think when the boy is almost 19, the man in the gray suit just moves him out of the townhouse and is like, boom, here's your own flat now in London. Like, you're grown. So I think to him that symbolizes, okay, maybe something's going to happen pretty soon here because this is the end of my formal lessons.
Yeah. And then he's able to go out on his own into town, like shops, stuff like that.
He starts taking really long walks, just trying to learn to be around people because he's been really secluded his whole life. And it's a rainy day and he's walking and he loses his journal because he would make journals with all these different symbols and things like that in it.
All his notes.
And things. Yep. So he realizes that he's lost it. He goes to retrace his steps and it's raining. So then he takes shelter under an awning of a cafe and he sees like a woman a few feet away from him who's reading what is clearly his like notebook.
Right.
But she's paying attention to it and she's intrigued by it. She's being very delicate with it. So that intrigues him, you know, because she's not just treating it like some random. It's almost like she knows that this is an important thing. So he walks up to her and is like, that's mine. Let me cop that. Thanks for finding it. Ends up asking her out and they go and have a glass of wine and some fruit and cheese and they start speaking. And he realizes, okay, so first, when they introduce themselves, she tells him that her name is Isabel. And then we find out that his name is Marco, Alistair.
So a name he chose for himself.
A name he chose for himself. Well, I think Marco was his given name, but Alistair was like the man in the gray suit. Yeah. So it's like, okay, now after almost 19 years, now we know that your name is Marco.
Right.
So Marco and Isabel go and they have wine and fruit and cheese and they're talking and discover that she's a tarot card reader because she was asking him about the things in his notebook. So they start discussing magic and then basically he takes her away from the cafe, puts her up against a wall, covers her eyes. They're still in London in the rain, but when he takes his hand off of her eyes, we see that they're in a forest.
Right.
And it's a perfect, beautiful winter day with like a light dusting of snow on the ground. There are birds chirping. The trees are beautiful. And to passersby, they just look like, you know,
people on the street.
Yeah. And that's the first time we can see Marco's magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised by that because you just kept hearing, oh, reading and writing and this and that.
Yeah.
So he's an illusionist. And he kisses her, and that kind of starts their little romance that they have. Yeah.
That he's hiding.
Yes.
So she comes over to his house, but anytime that the man in the gray suit comes over to the house, he like tells her to be quiet and like hide in the other room.
Yeah.
Even though we come to find out that he already knew that she was there.
And he also never comes in the house either.
Yeah. Like once he moved to the flat, he would just only visit outside. But that was only if he was called. Because remember one time he called him, he was like, don't do that.
Oh,
like, I basically come when I want. You not to summon me, basically.
Right. Yep. Yep. Because he said he heard a knock on the door, and the only person that knocks on the door and pops up was the man in the gray suit. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Yeah, he basically didn't want him having any distractions, was how he put it. And yeah. So then he ends up telling the man in the gray suit tells Marco, I want you to start, like, I set up an interview for you. I want you to work for this guy, Chandrish, who is a theater director, essentially. Now, this guy, Chandrish, he is very into people's reaction. Like, he cares less about the show and more about how the show is impacting other people. He's very big on the reviews that he gets, and his whole goal in life is to wow people. Yeah. So he throws these lavish parties. Food is excellent. Like, higher, all these important people come. Right. And Marco starts working for him as an assistant. Mm-hmm. He has one elaborate party where he invites like a certain amount of people, like I think 5 or 6 people. Right. They have dinner, and then he basically takes them to his parlor and tells them about his idea for a night circus. Right. And how spectacular he wants this circus to be, and he knows that they are just the people to help everything come together. Mm-hmm. And the thing about his parties is they would be at night too. Like they would finish at like 2 a.m. Yeah.
And they're also very mysterious. Like you'd never actually see the chef. Like you'd never hear cooking in the kitchen and things being prepared. Like you just like the meals and the parties themselves were almost like magic.
Right. Right.
And they just, like these dishes would just come out. And if I remember correctly, it was something about the dishes where like whatever, like everybody had something different. Mm-hmm. And so people would like compare what their food tastes like because you couldn't actually tell what it was based off of what was on your plate. Right. So everything about the whole entire experience was very mysterious, which is kind of what's helped stem the idea. Mm-hmm. For the night circus.
Right. So basically everyone's intrigued. And by the end of the night, they have a bunch, because he showed them a sketch that he had made. And it said by the end of their meeting, the end of their dinner, they were like tons of sketches and everyone had all these ideas and everyone's bringing something a little bit different to the table. Right. So one guy who was there visited a clockmaker who made this really elaborate clock. And I mean, it's all magic there, but it's just...
Girl. I told him that I want this to be your greatest work ever.
Yes. I mean, just an amazing, like had birds flying and little cats chasing little dogs. Changed and a juggler.
From, like, black to white.
Yeah.
Did something else too. I don't know, like flipped or something like that.
Yeah, it would flip in on itself during, like, it was just an amazing, amazing piece of art. And the guy wrote him a check where it said this clockmaker could have retired from that check alone if he wanted to. But nope, he just kept making timepieces, which is just like, man, that's when you know you really love something right there. Yeah.
That's when you can do it just because you love to do it.
Absolutely. So they're a pair of sisters. They're responsible for the fashions and things like that. But everything is black and white. Like, there's not a lot of color with this circus. And the cool thing is, like, we don't want it to be one big tent. This is going to be an experience where people walk through to multiple different tents. And it's going to be hard for you to experience all of this in one night. Like,
so you could easily... Like, you'd have to come back multiple nights to experience the entire circus, but then there are people who would just stay in a couple of tents that they loved. Yep. And then they basically started having the auditions. At the auditions, Celia goes, and basically, oh, well, before that, there's like a notice that goes out to everyone basically saying that Prosper, the enchanter, has passed away. You know, people are sending their condolences. She's getting marriage proposals sent to her. You know, now that your dad's dead, I can take care of you.
Right. It
And
was
she
funny. She's reading one like, I'm already married.
yes. So she's like, yeah, basically she wears a ring over the
scar.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it. So that kind of like symbolizes this commitment that she knows that she has, that she doesn't know really what it is.
Crazy.
Yeah,
right.
nuts. Celia shows up and he's like, oh, we don't need any secretaries or whatever.
Just totally dismissed her when she got on stage. And Marco was very drawn to her when he saw her too.
Immediately. Yeah. And so she's like, I'm here to audition. I'm an illusionist. He's kind of like trying to dismiss her. And so she takes off her coat and then like, I think it turns into like a bird or something and like flies.
She throws it into the theater seats because they're way in the back. He's there with another lady and turns into a raven.
Right. And so they're like shocked and they're like, oh, and then like her gown changes colors and stuff like that. And so I think that's the moment that Marco is like, huh.
Yeah, because they were impressed by the raven, and then like he still was like, well, maybe it was hidden in her thing or something. And she goes over to Marco. She's like, can I hold that notebook real quick? And then takes it and throws it in the air, and then it turns into a dove.
But then in the meantime, like her clothes are changing colors, and like there's nowhere for her to have hidden any of these things because she's kind of like in a dress where
she did her thing. She took away every question they could have had, or what? Maybe it was nah. Yeah. She did her thing. And then she told them that Prospero was her father.
Correct. And immediately he was like, yes. You know, sorry for your loss, but yes.
Marco goes home to Isabel. He's like, I know who my competitor is. Yeah. She's like, is it like some woman? He's like, no, it's Prospero the Enchanter, his daughter. And she's like, I didn't know he had a child. I didn't either. But she's too good. She's more than good. And he was just really, I think the dress changing color
to her.
Yes.
And so then Isabel is like, oh, well, why don't I spy on her for you?
Right, because he has to stay in London working for Chandrish.
Managing like the accounting stuff. And so he was like, would you do that for me?
Yeah. She asked him too, like, do you think this is part of your competition? If you think that's your competitor, then do you think the circus has something to do with it too? He's like, yeah, I think that's the venue. So Celia still has no idea about any of this.
Right. She's just going through the motions.
Yep. Oh, and Hector is not dead, by the way.
No, he's very much alive.
He's like a non-corporeal, he's like a ghost version of himself.
Yeah.
And he's there at the audition.
Like he basically tried to make himself
transparent.
Yeah, like not necessarily invisible, but he didn't like attach himself to anything. So he's just kind of like forced to live
in that state, basically.
State of disappearance.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
But the man in the gray suit knows that he's still alive.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they basically have orchestrated this whole plan because they had to create a venue where all of this could happen that would be different than what they've done in the past.
Yes.
So you also find out along the way that this isn't the first time that they've played this game.
So like the Duke brothers in Trading Places, y'all just play with people's lives. Like this is just something that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For fun. And then in the meantime, they're doing all their circus business. We're introduced to Bailey, who's this young kid in this town that this is where we kind of have this time jump.
They were in Massachusetts. That's where the circus was at the time, I think. Massachusetts, yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But the circus is like up and running at this point, and it ends up going to the town where Bailey is, and his sibling, his sister and some of her friends, they're climbing a tree, and they basically dare him to break into the night circus and bring something back
during the day.
During the day. And so he's intrigued by the circus, so he just says yes, and he also wants to be,
wants to be a part.
Part of the crew. So he breaks into the circus, and there's nothing going on. There's literally nothing.
No magic, no.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And so he ends up meeting a young girl who's wearing this red gown or white gown and fiery red hair. And she ends up saying, like, you shouldn't be here. You can be in a lot of trouble. And basically helps sneak him back out. And he's like, kind of low key. I hate to ask, but I really was supposed to show proof that I was here. And so she gives him one of her gloves, which he ends up like cherishing.
Yeah, she was a real one for that. Yeah.
And then he basically thanks her, and she's like, "You're welcome, Bailey." And then he goes off, and then like as he's walking home, he realizes that he never told her his name, and he's like, "How did she know my name?" Yeah. And which makes him even more intrigued and obsessed with the circus.
Yeah. And the circus had come, that's the second time the circus had come to his town. The first time it came, he was really young. He wanted to go, but his parents were like, you're too young. Maybe you can go another time, but then it just up and left. So that really added to the intrigue with him seeing it again this time. Like, I cannot miss my shot to go. So yeah, so then basically from there, Isabel starts spying on the circus. Celia is like doing her thing. Reader. Yep. She's a tarot reader for the circus. She has her own tent there. Celia is really creating a wonderful reputation as this awesome illusionist, and she's kind of reporting back to Marco like, your girl, she's
doing her thing.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah. She's good.
So like we do another time jump back where the circus is opening. And then basically Marco is afraid because he's all the way back in London that he's not going to be able to keep tabs on the like what's happening with his competition, who he knows is Celia. Celia doesn't know that he is her competition. Right. And so basically he takes his book and like does some magic stuff and puts it in a cauldron. And then opening night, like with whatever he was doing and with opening night, it created, like he basically tethered himself, but unknowingly everybody that had something to do with the circus tied everybody to the circus.
Yeah, he created like a white flame bonfire. Yeah.
That went off the moment that the circus opened. And then at that same time, what's his name? The guy who came up with the circus?
Chandrish.
He ended up feeling immediately ill.
Yes.
Then at that same time, twins were born unexpectedly. They weren't due yet.
Right.
One was born like 11:59, and the other one was born like 12 o'clock or 12:01 or something like that. And so like a lot ended up happening right at that time.
Yeah, that was the catalyst to a lot of things. Yeah.
And then you kind of learn over time. It's kind of like hard to talk about it because there's so many jumps back and forth.
Right.
But you learn basically because of what he did, everybody involved with the circus, with the exception of the twins, stopped aging. But the twins, like, they aged, but not quickly.
Right.
They kind of like peaked in adolescence, it seemed like. So basically, the twins that were born that night, so Celia knew at that moment with whatever happened that her competitor did whatever they did. That was a result of like, for her, that felt like let the games begin.
Right. Because the man in the gray suit sent a letter to Celia's dad with all the letters that they got, the condolences, the marriage proposals, like
your move.
Yeah.
So she didn't really know what that meant, but she knew it obviously had something to do with the game.
Right.
But when she felt that energy shift from whatever happened the opening night of the circus, she was like, okay, we're in it now. Like, this is for real. And clearly this person knows what they're doing, but she still didn't know who it was.
Right.
So Widget is able to see people's pasts, and he's a really good storyteller. And then Poppet is able to see things in the future, but it doesn't really always look clear.
Right.
Like she says, basically she sees these things in the stars. And over time, everybody in the circus kind of becomes like a family, and they all take a role in like raising these kids. So when the parents are doing their thing, I think they do like something with like tigers and stuff, and so Poppet and Widget are
They
doing
train
kind of the
cats and
same
stuff,
thing
yeah.
with kittens. So they confide in Celia that they have these gifts, and she kind of helps them be able to like harness them and work with them and like interpret them. But she's also low key, I feel like, using them for her own personal knowledge of like trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Because everybody involved in the circus knows that there's something different about the circus, but nobody can really put their finger on it.
Right.
Because you have people who understand that there's magic, but then you have people who understand that, like, no, this is more than that.
I really can't blame her for like 12, 13 plus years of her life being told that she's bound to someone, she's training for this thing, and now it feels like it's finally happening. So of course she's gonna
try to get to the bottom of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chandrish would have these parties, and you know, she got invited to one, and then her and Marco start hanging out more and seeing things. And
if I remember correctly, the circus went to London. And then that was the first time that Marco was able to like be back in the circus since opening night. So all this time he's back in London. He's doing his accounting manipulating thing from afar, and getting letters, and he's getting frustrated with her because she's not talking. She's telling more about the circus, a little bit about Celia, and he's like, no, but I want to know everything. Like, this letter needs to be more about her. And she's like, I mean, why though?
Yeah,
like, why are you so obsessed with her?
Correct, right?
It's giving. You need to focus on me.
Right.
And so, he basically also skipping ahead a little. Well, going back a little bit, from afar, because he's tethered himself to the circus, he is able to create his own little parts of the circus. So between him and Celia, they have this competition where the circus shuts down, and then the next day there's a new installment.
Yeah.
There's a new part of the circus that one of them has created in competition with whatever the other person has done the day before. So they basically create these multiple tents. Nobody knows where they come from, but they're just popping up all over the place. One of them was
like, he creates an ice garden, she creates a hall of mirrors, and a wishing tree. He created, like, they would go back and forth and just create these different things.
So then at some point they kind of start tagging on to existing installments that they've created, and it almost seems like they're working together in a weird way. And then there's like a rainy day. They're back in London. So going back to, that's the first time that he's been able to go back to the circus or see the circus since it was created. It's a rainy day. I think the circus was shut down for like inclement weather. She's wants to go out and about because they can only go out for certain times because they're tethered to the circus. So she leaves, and she's using this umbrella, and it's not until she's like halfway to wherever she's going that she realizes that she's not getting wet. And so she understands that whoever her competitor is, this umbrella belongs to this person. Right at that moment, she hears somebody call her name, and it's Marco. And he's like, oh, I think you accidentally grabbed my umbrella. And she's like, so it's you. And he's like, yeah. And so they kind of like have a moment, and he's wanting to talk to her, and he's like, you know, like, can we go? And she's like, maybe another time. And so she kind of is like, I'm intrigued, but I need to sit on this.
Yeah, it was a lot for her to handle initially.
Because she suspected, you know, like that first night when everything kind of went wonky, but she couldn't really put her finger on it. Like, up until that point, he just seemed kind of like weird. And so in the meantime, the circus is traveling. Everybody kind of like, it's almost like business as usual. And then there's this group of followers, the Reverse.
Dreamers.
The Dreamers. And they basically are people who are just in love and in complete awe of the circus and everything about it. And they will, some people travel from place to place to place, because the circus doesn't say like, hey, by the way, we're going to be in your
Right.
town. It's just one day it's here and one day it's not. So they have like a whole little secret society that they communicate and tell each other when the circus is in this town, or if they hear that the circus is going somewhere. And they identify themselves by wearing red.
Isn't it a red scarf?
Oh, a red scarf. A red scarf to identify themselves as like their community. Kind of the father or the creator of this movement was Thiessen, aka the Clockmaker. Let's just call him that. So basically, he started writing letters basically to the circus, just talking about how much. No. He was writing articles about how much he loved the circus and just talking about all the amazing things. And then he started receiving an anonymous letter from somebody who worked at or with the circus and knew a lot of things that most people wouldn't know. And then over time, you basically find out that this person is Celia. And so he also, because he was writing all these articles, kind of became the father of this movement. And I think he just naturally wore red scarf, which is just like how it kind of came to be. And then other people started doing that too, to identify each other by that. And so they had a very strong relationship, just in communicating and sharing things. I almost felt like it almost seemed like they had a romantic relationship, but they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't.
But it seemed like it could have. But they were very, very close. Like Celia cared about him a lot. And so one of the creators of the circus, well, there were two women that were invited as two twin sisters. I don't remember their names. But one of them starts becoming really paranoid. And she's like, I don't really understand what's going on. Like, I just feel like I'm walking in a dream. Something with this circus isn't right. So basically, remember, when he created that thing with the cauldron or whatever he did, it tethered everybody to the circus. Everybody stopped aging, but people were starting to feel side effects from all of this power. And then people that weren't illusionists and magicians and all of this still being tethered to all of this magic. So she starts asking questions. She's like, I don't understand what's going on. So she basically reaches out to not the clockmaker, it's like a carpenter who's been helping build these installments. And he's like, I don't really know, but you could probably ask the guy in the gray suit. Because, I mean, he's really the one who started all this. So then she goes and she's asking him questions, and she's like, no, because he ended up leaving London. And she's like, why'd you leave? And he's like, well, everybody kept aging but me, and I feel like people were going to start getting suspicious. And so that really solidified for her, like, I'm not crazy.
Right, there's something to this.
Correct.
He also started going by Mr. AH too, so that's another thing where names started getting interchanged. Right.
Yeah. So we'll call him AH, the man in gray, aka AH. So he refers her to him. And he apparently is staying at this place where clearly nobody knows who he is, but then he just pops up out of nowhere by hearing his name. And so he's like, it's fine. Like, the circus is a circus. It's magic. It's, like, there's nothing to worry about. I think everything is going to be fine. Why don't you just go ahead and catch the train that you were going to catch and just don't worry about it. Find something else to occupy yourself. And so she's like, what? So she just, like, all of a sudden is at the train station, but then she's feeling like, okay, I don't even know why I'm here right now. And then she looks across and she sees AH, and he's talking to somebody, but she can't make out their face. And so she's like trying to lean in to get a better look at this person, and doesn't realize that she just walked in front of a moving train.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
She's done so.
Right.
And that was really, of all the people who've been tethered to the circus, that's the first person who has died. And so basically then things naturally, are like the cracks in the wall start showing after that.
Right.
You know? And so they hold a funeral for her, and people are just really uneasy because they feel like it has something to do with this. Like, she's not suicidal. Yeah, she was paranoid, but like, her sister's like, this something ain't right here. And so then we find out basically later that AH has the ability, like he did with Celia in the beginning, to like disorient you, like alter your reality almost, like make things foggy and make you forget things, which Marco also had the ability to do. Because what's the guy's name that he was living with?
Ooh.
The creator of the circus. Not AH, but like
Chandrish.
He's drinking a lot. He's falling apart. He's forgetful.
Marco, in addition to making things hazy for people, he could pick memories out of your head. He could say, hey, think about this.
Forget. Or in like implant.
And like pick your memory. He could tell you what you're thinking about right now and why you're thinking about it. And in tune, he can kind of manipulate things. Yeah.
In which he was doing to Chandrish.
Yep.
Who basically, to somebody else, probably seemed like he had maybe like some dementia and was like an alcoholic.
Yeah.
But that was also really the result of being manipulated so many times and having his memories wiped and changed and altered so that he was able to do the things that he needed to do at the circus. But then I think that after the death of one of those women, people really started to pay closer attention.
Yes.
And so Chandrish basically was like, I think, snuck and went into Marco's stuff and figured out that he's like a massive manipulator. He's been orchestrating this, like just doing all sorts of stuff.
And then try to confront him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then basically got his memories wiped out.
Right.
Like,
for his trouble, right?
What did you think was gonna happen? Celia and Marco kind of fall in love.
Yeah.
But AH was like, you're just making this harder on yourself. You need to stop talking to her. And then he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Walked over to her because she was wearing that gown that changed to whatever color of person she was in front of, which I'm like, that is amazing.
Right.
Like, you're with somebody who's wearing red and your dress turns red. And you're with somebody who's wearing blue and your dress turns blue. So he just like, being defiant, walks over and like kisses her, but then does like a little memory sweep of everybody in the party and wipes it from everybody's memory except for them two. Yeah. And then like
I think that like solidified it for them too, because when they like, did their thing, Hector was like, what are you doing? In the shadows. Yeah. Making her feel like a, Yeah.
Skank.
Little skanky, yeah.
But see, Isabel, I think she was there, and I want to say she was there, and she noticed that, like when he wiped everybody's memories, she didn't really understand. She didn't understand what happened, but she did notice that Celia's dress was the same color as his suit, and was like, "Huh." Yeah. I don't know what happened, but it can't be good. Right. Because you guys had to have been close for, you had to have just been together. Right. But then shortly after, he basically breaks up with her and is like, yeah, I'm in love with her. Yeah. Sorry. But thanks for everything. Right. And so she gets upset and had some little voodoo hair trinket. Yeah. That basically and some tarot cards that were related to them too, and basically was like, say less. And just whatever she did also played a part in like the magic that was happening at the circus. So when she broke whatever little spell she did, it created almost like an earthquake
Right.
in the circus.
Yeah.
And then
So at this point in the story, they are both well aware of the competition.
yes,
They know the circus is the venue. The competition is those two competing against each other to create these different illusions and tents.
right.
They are in love, and
Yes.
they both have been told by Hector and by the man in the gray suit that only one of you can win.
Correct.
You guys are
But
basically
they don't know
battling.
what that means. They just know there can only be one winner, but they don't really know, like,
I think
how
Hector.
deep that goes.
I think Hector eventually told her because it was like he was trying to get
After
her
they
to
slept
stop.
together.
Right. Yeah.
And he's
When
like,
you
slut.
Right.
This is gonna end well for you. You know one of you has to die. And she's like, what?
Right.
Come again?
I was fine with losing, but wait, what?
Yeah. And that changed the whole game.
Yeah. Well, then we find out that Tsukiko, the contortionist, she was a player in the game.
She was the last in the previous. She was the winner of the previous game.
And was the winner, obviously. And basically ended up telling her what that felt like because she too fell in love with the person that she was competing against.
Who gave up their life
Yep.
to save hers.
Mm-hmm.
But what was very interesting is that despite having that feeling, so Celia's like, well, why didn't you tell me? She's like, well, I wanted to still be a part of the circus, and the only way that I could is that I wasn't allowed to tell anybody who I was or what I knew unless I was directly asked. Which, okay, that's a flex.
Right. Right.
But despite having all that experience, she's like, I'll do whatever I have to make sure that the circus survives.
Right. Yeah.
You'd think that that person would harbor like animosity towards the circus.
Right.
But she was very adamant that like, if one of you has to die, I'm going to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because this ain't going away.
Right. I'll help facilitate whatever.
Correct.
So she basically
she's
ends
like a
up,
fail-safe.
Yeah. So Celia, like at this point, Celia and Marco, they are both willing to spare their lives for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Tsukiko, Marco ends up finding out what Celia's planning to do, and Tsukiko's like, I mean, you could just go on fire and just,
off yourself.
Right. Could
do
just
us
do
all
that.
a favor.
Right. And he was about to do that. Now, okay, I think that's when we need to get into Bailey and his whole thing.
Yeah.
Because
so Bailey, who's a young man now, his dad basically is pressuring him to take over the farm. His sister, she's grown, about to get married off to whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And his grandmother wants him to go to Harvard? I
think so. Yeah.
Elite school. Mm-hmm. And so he's kind of torn, like, I don't really know what I want to do. I know I don't want to do this farm life. I'd rather go to college than stay here.
But I'm also not crazy about that either.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So he's having a little bit of an identity crisis. In the meantime, we got to backtrack. The circus then pops up again in his town.
Mm-hmm.
Sees Bailey again.
Poppet.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. He sees Poppet again. And
she remembered him, obviously.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And they basically, her and her brother and Bailey start going to all these different places in the circus and exploring all these different tents that he never even had gotten to when he went there on his own previously.
Eating all the food, like they're just showing him a great time.
Grand old time. Yep. A little VIP pass. Yep. He can come back whenever he wants. Mm-hmm. And he ends up going into the tent where Isabel is. She's reading his cards and basically saying, like, you're going to have some hard decisions to make. He's thinking that it has to do with, like,
life, because he does have hard decisions to make.
College. Right. But, we later find out it's so much deeper than that. So basically, as all of these things are starting to crumble and fall apart, Poppet basically goes to Bailey and is like, the circus is leaving tonight. We need you to come. But she couldn't really tell him all of why.
Right.
She's just like, the circus needs you.
Mm-hmm.
We need you to come with us. We're leaving at midnight. Please. And so she goes back and she's telling her brother, I'm not really sure if that worked.
Right.
She ended up kissing him too.
Yes.
So that was like,
yeah.
I mean, there's more of that where that came from.
But it was genuine. Like,
yeah,
they really,
it wasn't to manipulate
Correct,
him. They
right.
really have a
it
connection
helped,
and
but
care about
that
each
wasn't
other.
why. Yeah.
Correct. So her brother's like, well, should I just go kidnap him? And she's like, nah, let's not be weird about it.
Right.
Like, it is what it is, has to be his choice.
Mm-hmm.
So then he's at home and he's contemplating and basically is like, fuck it. I'm gonna do it.
I love it there.
I love it there. I love them. I love this. I love her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out. So he's like writing a little "see you when I see ya"
Yeah.
for his family, and his sister's like, "You're so stupid. Like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
This is ridiculous. You're chasing. You're going off with the circus, like real original." And so he's like, you getting married and having kids and all, like, that's not for me.
Right.
Like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So he ends up going. By the time he gets there,
It's gone.
he goes to the tree where his little glove that he's hidden away all these years was, grabs that, and the circus is gone by the time he gets there.
Mm-hmm.
And so he ends up like meeting up with some
reviewers,
whatever you call them, the followers. And they're like, oh, say less. We're actually going to, where did they go? New York?
I think it was, yeah. But here's your red scarf.
Yeah.
You're one of us.
You're one of us. And he's like, well, I don't really think. And they're like, well, do you love the circus? Yeah. Like, whatever little questions is basically like how much you love it.
Right.
And they're like, yeah.
Rocket.
You're one of us.
Right.
And so he's with these people. They're pretty well to do. They get him a suit. They just take good care of him. They're really kind to him.
They're on a train. That's how they're getting there. Yeah.
And so they're like reading these articles that the Clockmaker had, these little articles and things like that, which, so I think we need to go back a second because there was one of the nights before the circus left, he ended up getting stabbed.
Bailey?
No, the Clockmaker. He died.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember where that was.
I don't remember either.
I don't remember, but at some point he ended up getting stabbed. He died. It was devastating for Celia, but that was like another fracture in the circus. So at that point, things are like crumbling, and that's why the circus is like, it's probably never coming back, which is why they really needed Bailey. So they basically tracked down the circus wherever it went, and Bailey runs into the circus because he's like smelling flames and fire.
While he's traveling, while he's doing his whole thing, we have Tsukiko, who is trying to convince Marco to just off himself via fire. Celia finds out about this, and she basically puts her hands over the flame, and she's like basically holding the circus because it's known that if this flame goes out, the whole circus is done for, and everyone attached to it.
Sorry. But the way that she was able to intercept that is because when they did sleep together, she stole Marco's notes.
Oh, that's right.
To figure out how Marco and AH are able to do what they do. So she disappeared after that night with his stuff. Right. And then,
Yeah. So basically, at this point, Celia is trying to, like, she's holding all the magic of the circus and everything just suspends. It just stops. Everything is just frozen in time. And she's trying to figure out how since everyone's buying it to the circus, how do we keep this going? You know?
And then him and I can be together.
Yeah, because like we don't care about winning anymore. We just want to be to and we don't want anyone to die. But there has to be a winner. So
because people are dying.
Correct.
Tsukiko,
yeah.
She tries to off Marco, and then at the last second, Celia jumps in and is like, trust me.
There we go. Yeah.
And then that's when she kind of like does whatever her dad thought he was doing to make himself invisible. But since he didn't tether himself to anything, it never worked. And he's just kind of floating. But she basically did that for them and connected themselves to the circus.
So basically, as Marco is trying to commit suicide with help of Tsukiko, Celia sees this immediately runs over to
He's
him
like,
and intercepts. Right,
I got this.
right, right. So when Bailey gets to the circus,
everybody's suspended.
Yes.
Except for Tsukiko.
Mm-hmm.
That's her name, right?
Yep, Tsukiko. And she ends up taking him to their ghostly form, basically.
What's the tree the wishing tree?
The wishing tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's basically where they are. And they're kind of in this like weird ghostly form.
Right, right. And they explain to him basically that they need him if he accepts. Mm-hmm. For the circus to go on, we need someone to bind it to. Mm-hmm. You can never leave the circus. This is going to be a part of you for the rest of your life. Right. We're here to help you. We're here to, all of that. And he had a decision to make, which goes to what the tarot card reader, mm-hmm. You're going to have a very difficult decision to make, because this is from, I like the circus, it's cool, but do I really want this thing binded to me forever?
Because he was like, I'm not special. And she's like, it's not always about being able to do something special. Sometimes it's just a matter of being at the right place at the right time and having, like, I don't know.
Having the will to do it.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's the perfect way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so he was like, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And then he basically...
Yeah, because Marco was like, hold on. Yeah. Like, I believe you, but we need to do this first. Yeah.
So just in case you decide to change your mind, right. We're going to lock this in. Mm-hmm. And so he gets his own little ring tether to the circus. And then, everybody kind of becomes unfrozen. And then Bailey basically is like managing the circus. Mm-hmm. And then... Widget, he goes to
Chandrish.
Mm-hmm. And they start talking about a story, which, you're just gonna have to read it to get all that.
Right.
And he tells them a story in order to basically sign over the deed, long story short.
Right.
And so they get that, and then Poppet goes to AH and was like, yeah, we're gonna need you to relinquish your control over it too. Mm-hmm. Because you all have hurt enough people, and it's just...
It's not the kind of circus we're trying to have anymore.
Like, right. We're trying to be legitimate, and mm-hmm. you guys have just messed this all up. Mm-hmm. So it's time for you to let this go too. And so, yeah.
That's basically how it ended.
The end.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. I will say, hindsight, I think that this is not the best audiobook. Mm. Like, nothing to do with the narrator or anything like that. It was very difficult to follow in audio. Mm-hmm. I think maybe being able to see it in black and white would have made it a little bit easier to know, like, when you're doing these time jumps.
I think I don't think we said what the time frame. This took place in the late 19th century. This was like 1800s.
1800s.
Yeah. So,
way back when.
Yeah, this took place in the 1800s. If we didn't say that, I don't think that we did. But there are so many Easter eggs that you had to really be paying attention. And sometimes when you're listening to audio, you're multitasking and doing things. Unless you're just sitting there listening, this is not the type of book.
Correct. Which is what I had to do. Mm-hmm. And so for me, as a self-proclaimed audiobook queen, mm-hmm. it was very difficult for me to just like sit and listen. Right. Because I feel like if I'm going to just sit and do this thing, then I just might as well have the book.
Right.
And then I just kept losing track of it. I'm like, what? And then like the names changing, mm-hmm. I just was very confusing listening to it and like living life. So that was just a recipe for disaster. But yeah, let's say you're doing like a drive or a flight, right. Or you're in somewhere mm-hmm. where you're stationary and you can focus, yeah, by all means. Yeah. I think it was, in terms of like the description and the way that it was written, and like you could smell the
beautiful.
Circus. Like I wanted to be wherever they were. Yes. I'm not a big circus fan. But yeah, I think the book itself was great. I just wish that maybe I would have just read it instead of.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you get into
You
it.
don't. Yeah. What would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5?
Um, I don't honestly know because it was so confusing for me. Like I got to the end of it like, what? What is happening? But that's because I did audio. So I feel like I don't want to give it an unfair rating
Mm-hmm.
because I was so confused, but that was just of my own making.
Yeah,
If
that
that
makes
makes
sense.
sense.
Yeah.
But like in terms of the way the book was written, like the description and the characters and stuff, I would definitely give it a solid 4.
I agree. Yeah, I
I
would.
feel like it was a beautiful book.
I think so too. Yeah, I give it like a 4.4, 4.5. Like just really beautiful writing, well
Mm-hmm.
described. This was one of those books, and that happens sometimes. I think it was 13 hours, 14 hours, something like that,
Mm.
because I also listened to it on audio. When I got to the end, I felt like it didn't need to be as long, but then I couldn't really specifically call out pieces
What
that I
could
would
be
take
cut?
out,
Correct.
which
Yeah.
is,
I don't think there was really any wasted time.
yeah,
Like there was no point where I was just like,
now you're
what is
just
the
talking
point
just to
of
be
all
talking,
this?
right?
No, everything had purpose. It just the time jumps, you could get lost very easily
Mm-hmm.
because it just would be like, like you're an 18 something and then it's giving you a description of something that happened like in like 20 years before that
Mm-hmm.
or 30 years forward.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's just hard to keep track when you're multitasking and,
Yeah.
but I think the book was great.
I think so too. Overall, recommend besties. You guys
Yeah.
should check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I
Awesome.
mean, we didn't give everything away, so definitely check it out.
No, we definitely try to be descriptive, but not like
Yeah.
we still really respect the author and we want you to read their work and,
Yeah,
like by all means, just hopefully this makes you more eager to read it, if anything else.
absolutely.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, besties, we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.